Good evening and welcome to Eye to Eye. I'm Linda Kavanaugh. Our series explores issues we face in society and in our lives. We don't give you the same information you get from mainstream media. Instead, we present you with fresh, relevant information that you can use to make daily decisions or possibly develop some creative ways to look at our economy and make it better. You may know that Eye to Eye, we have two types of programs. The first is where I interview people with expertise in a variety of areas: economics, medicine, business, and so forth. For the second type of show, we are selecting 4 viewer volunteers to appear with me to discuss a specific topic. I will also need a web-savvy volunteer who can be a high schooler, college student, or anyone who would be willing to join us in the studio discussion and do some on-the-spot web searches during the program. As I've said before, we want a variety of viewpoints, so we would like a group that represents different ages, backgrounds, and experience, who do not have specific expertise regarding the topic that we had that evening. We only ask that you have open minds and are respectful of the suggestions and views of others. You will not be representing any group, company, or agency, but just yourself. I'll explain exactly how you can be considered for a viewer volunteer guest chair later in the program. Tonight, my guest is Dr. Joseph Bronzino, founder of the Biomedical Engineering Consortium, Beacon. An electrical engineer, Dr. Bronzino was a faculty member at Trinity College for over 40 years. He is the author of over 200 articles and 11 books. In 2000, he founded the Biomedical Engineering Alliance and Consortium, Beacon, which is a nonprofit organization consisting of academic and medical institutions, as well as corporations dedicated to the development and commercialization of new medical technologies. Information on Beacon can be found at www.beaconalliance.org. Welcome, Dr. Bronzino, and thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you very much for having me, Linda. I've been looking forward to meeting you and talking about one of my favorite subjects, biomedical engineering and medical technology.
Absolutely. I think we better first tell our audience a little bit about Beacon. Let me just say, what services you provide members and staff, and as founder, what started you down that path. Give me a little thumbnail sketch of Beacon, but just before that, a real thumbnail sketch of what does biomedical engineering actually mean?
Well, it's very simple, really. Engineering is an applied science, and to a large extent, the different names like aeronautical engineering or environmental engineering or biomedical engineering talk about or represent the environment to which those skills and expertise of the engineers can be applied. So biomedical engineering is an interdisciplinary field of activity that integrates the realm of biology and bioscience with that of engineering, so that engineers can be involved in the design and development of devices that can provide diagnostic information as well as treatment protocols to the benefit of patients in America.
Wow. Now, Beacon, tell me a little bit about what Beacon is and what started you down the path to actually make it the organization that it is today.
Well, to a large extent, it began in 1996 when I took a look around the neighborhood of Greater Hartford and saw that there were 4 biomedical engineering programs in existence. They were all small, and by themselves, they would not be able to do some of the things a larger organization could do. So I submitted a grant to the Whitaker Foundation and received $1 million to integrate the 4 biomedical engineering programs into one. The programs that were institutionalized consisted of those at Trinity College, University of Hartford, and UConn in biomedical engineering program in Storrs, and the University of Connecticut Health Center in Farmington. And the purpose of the grant from the Whitaker Foundation was fourfold. Number one was to integrate the programs to avoid redundancy. Second was to move the biomedical engineering graduate program that existed at the Hartford Graduate Center that I directed for 25 years to UConn, so there would be one graduate program in effect in the greater Hartford area, to provide 4 new faculty positions for the region to strengthen the expertise that already existed here. And 2 of those positions went to UConn, 1 went to Trinity, and 1 went to University of Hartford. And finally, it was to start the road of getting in contact with the industry to essentially build a bridge between industry and academia to facilitate the commercialization of intellectual property that was being accumulated in the academic institutions.
So now that was about, you're saying about 15 years ago.
That's correct.
Probably by now, right? And I know it's been very successful. I mean, you're actually kind of a global entity now, an organization that's international actually too. But how are you funded, and who are your members? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to a large extent, when the grant from the Whitaker Foundation was over, during the grant we had monthly meetings, and initially it was primarily attended by academics from the various educational institutions that I mentioned before. But we started to attract people from industry, from the hospitals, from entrepreneurs. And so when there usually was about 40 to 45 people who met monthly and got very familiar with one another and trusted one another in various aspects of biomedical engineering as applied to the medical field. And so when the grant was over, the group who said, what do we do now? And so we had a retreat, and we brought in an article from the Harvard Business Review called the Preferential Access Network, which described the process which MIT was offering to the Fortune 500 companies, that they would have access to MIT expertise and facilities for $250,000 a year. Now, I knew that I was not going to get anyone to give us $250,000 a year, but the model that we followed was exactly that proposed by MIT, in that as a member of the Beacon Network, you have access to the resources and capability of the network. And it emphasizes that you can utilize the network to enhance your operation so as to not worry about having to hire full-fledged faculty or employees, and instead seek out those experts within the Beacon Network.
I see. So now let's just talk a little bit about biomedical engineering. Now you explained what it is. I mean, does that have to do with like maybe, let's say, mechanical joints and that sort of thing? Is that technically biomedical engineering, or is that not?
That is part of biomedical engineering, but to understand biomedical engineering, it's a very diverse interdisciplinary field, and so it includes things like cardiovascular instrumentation, tissue engineering, simulation of physiological systems, neural pacing, drug delivery devices, and a whole host of artificial organs that are presently being made, prosthetic devices. And there's a slide, or I think picture, that you're going to see about the world of biomedical engineering that will demonstrate that. The point to make, perhaps, is the fact that I'm editor-in-chief of the Biomedical Engineering Handbook. And the first volume of that handbook came out in 1995. It was one volume that emphasizes the medical devices that existed at that time. In 2014, the 4th edition of that handbook will be coming out, and it consists of 4 volumes. And 2 of the volumes contain devices and expertise that were no longer in, or that were not in existence 10 years ago. So the field is diverse, continually expanding, and I think will continue to do so. It's important to point out that according to the FDA, medical device is something that is not metabolized by the body like a drug. So anything that is used for a medical issue that is not metabolized by the body is a device.
Okay.
And an example of that would be a drug delivery system, which essentially encapsulates the drug, delivers it to its place of need, and deposits the drug at the site of the damage that needs to be corrected. But the device that carries it there is just that, a device.
Okay, okay. Okay, now something near and dear to my heart, which is, how does biotech or biomedical engineering act as an economic driver in the state of Connecticut, or you can say nationwide, but certainly in the state?
Well, from an economic position, the medical device industry is a bonanza. It is the net exporter of medical technology to the world. It essentially has 440,000 employees nationwide. In the state of Connecticut, it employs 9,000 people, and the biggest medical device company in the state is Covidien, with about 5,000 or 6,000 employees. And to a large extent, all of the indices about the future, such as an aging population, increased devices that will be effective in treating patients, all point to the need for more medical devices as we go forward. And we are exporting $1 billion of medical devices from the United States to the rest of the world every year. So it is a tremendous driver.
It really is. And I didn't realize we had so many jobs in the state that were actually relating to it. You know, that many thousands, of jobs that are in Connecticut regarding
Right. I think it's one of the messages perhaps to convey this program is the fact there's a great deal of attention in the past 10 or 15 years on pharmaceuticals in the state of Connecticut. But the economic engine that is of interest to us is the medical device industry, which essentially includes Covidien, as I mentioned, and 200 other medical device manufacturing firms within the state. And to a large extent, our mantra to the rest of the world is innovate, but do the manufacturing in Connecticut and Western Massachusetts, because there is the strength of the precision manufacturing discipline. The I-91 corridor is a hotbed of precision manufacturing firms that essentially need to be continued and encouraged and continue to prosper.
Dr. Benzina, now what special programs is Beacon involved with at the time? Do you have some special projects that you might be working on?
Sure. I think in order to meet our mission, which was stated up earlier about to development and commercialization of new medical technology, in order to achieve that goal, we do four things. We facilitate collaboration between our academic and clinical members. We promote industrial partnering with industry so as to build a bridge between industry and academia. We help entrepreneurs go to the next step of commercialization, whatever that might be. Someone may come into us with a concept of an idea they'd like to pursue and need to be encouraged to seek funding to develop a prototype. People may come in with a prototype and need to go ahead and get funding to develop a series of them to be tested in animals or humans, depending on what the purpose of the device is. The fourth objective is to provide educational mission, which is to bring experts in the medical device industry to Connecticut so that our members get to see what the future of medical devices is, not the status quo. And the fifth activity is workforce development, because what we need to do is remember that we need to continue to fuel